Hyome and Muichiro continue through the castle, sensing Muzan is close. Suddenly, a wall compartment pushes Muichiro, separating the two. He is forced through multiple walls before landing in a room full of numerous pillars. Inside the room, the demon notices him and comments he looks rather familiar. Muichiro is shocked as it reveals that he is now face to face with the Upper Moon One. The Upper Moon One, Kokushibo, examines Muichiro Tokiso in the transparent world and recognizes something in the boy. As Muichiro looks on at him, thinking that the Upper Rank One is quite dignified and majestic, Muichiro notices the blade at the demon's side and wonders if he had been a demon slayer in the past. Suddenly, Muichiro's hand starts shaking with a sword handle in its grip, unable to shake the feeling of dread from being in front of Kokushibo. With his body refusing to battle, something that had never happened before in his entire life, Muichiro attempts to compose himself. Kokushibo asks him what his name was, and Muichiro tells him, with Kokushibo responding that the Tsukikuni name has died out. Puzzled, Muichiro asks him who Tsukikuni is, and Kokushibo continues saying that it was inevitable after so many centuries. The upper rank tells Muichiro that when he had been human, his name was Michikatsu Tsukiguni, and then reveals that Muichiro is his descendant. Muichiro's eyes widen with shock, and he refuses to believe it at first, with his mind swimming with questions about the upper rank. Coming back to Earth quickly, Muichiro steels himself and prepares to attack, with Kokushibo praising his mental strength, lauding him for overcoming his panic in such a short period of time, as Muichiro swoops forward and attacks him with a mist-breathing second form 8-layered mist that the demon effortlessly dodges in the blink of an eye. Appearing behind Muichiro, Kokushibo praises the boy's breathing technique, seeing that his descendant was a mist-breathing user, and then swiftly dodges a mist-breathing 5th form Sea of Clouds and Haze launched by the Mr. Shira. Accurately deducing Muichiro's age as being 14, Kokushibo is impressed that the boy's swordsmanship is so refined at his young age, and his mental fortitude to quell his fear and battle the demon, taking pride in the strength still flowing from those of his blood. Displeased, Muichiro rebuffs the upper rank, saying that if 100 years have indeed passed, then not a drop of Kokushibo's blood remains in him. Muichiro then activates his Demon Slayer mark and performs a mist-breathing 7th form Obscuring Clouds, a technique that Kokushibo had never seen before. As Muichiro slices at the demon's neck, Kokushibo quickly evades the attack, impressed with the beauty and grace of the technique. Drawing his own blade, Kokushibo performs moon-breathing 1st form Dark Moon Evening Palace that Muichiro is unable to keep up with, and the Hashira sadly loses his left hand as a result. Shocked that the upper rank is able to use breathing techniques as a demon, Muichiro quickly attempts to restrict the bleeding from the stump on his arm by tightening the sleeves of his robe with his teeth. He then dashes forward and attacks Kokushibo despite his injuries, and the demon is impressed at the courage and the skill of his descendant. As the Mr. Shira performs a mist-breathing 4th form Shifting Flow and Slash, Kokushibo catches the boy's blade between his fingers and turns it on him, pinning him to a pillar, and then he asks Muichiro to allow him to turn the Hashira into a demon so that he could serve Muzan Kibitsuji. Kokushibo stands in front of Muichiro after having pinned him to a pillar with his own blade and says that his heart is moved on seeing one of his own descendants, something he had never imagined. Muichiro stares at the upper rank in silence as Kokushibo continues and says that the Mr. Shira's arm would regrow once he became a demon, certain that Muzan would allow such a thing given that the other upper ranks had all been slain. Transfixed on his descendant, Kokushibo attempts to try and stem Muichiro's bleeding, but then says that if Muichiro died due to excess blood loss or if he was rejected by Muzan, then it would be fate. Kokushibo tells Muichiro that this would mean that he was a man and only meant to go so far.